Watch out, Blue Bloods. Make way for the New Bloods. The Luna Coffee adds to their Blue Angels collection with their Fat Albert blend, a classic combination of Guatemalan and Brazilian beans. It is truly their roaster's choice. And hey, check it out. K-Cups of it, along with Voodoo and Red, White, and Brew, are buy one, get one free. So go check it out over at thelunacoffee.com.
From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.
One ball, corner pocket.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hutchavandi.
And Corey Clark.
It's the most wonderful time.
Wake up! What is up, everybody? It is Wake Up Warchant, presented by the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, Tallahassee, Florida. Coming up on today's show, it's your show, the People Show, Renegade Express. Lots of questions about the future. We'll see if we can predict it with somewhat accuracy. Wake Up Warchant, presented by the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, Tallahassee, Florida. Check them on out. Corner Pocket Bar and Grill off Appalachia Parkway. Daily lunch specials from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Always pull out the phone, hit the QR code. That was a chicken wing from last night. Appreciate it. It's good stuff. Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Gift that keeps on giving. Pull out the phone, hit the QR code, goes right to the website. And check everything out. Don't forget bingo night on Thursdays. Rip it up, enjoy. Warchant.com, the ultimate Seminoles sports source. No promo code. Just head over there. And for $10, you can get access for an entire year of the website. And you'd be missing out on a lot if you're not over there right now. Premium recruiting board is popping off. Everything with the transfer portal you need to know is over there. Michael Langston does that stuff. Corey Clark carries the day most of the time on this show. How are you, Corey?
I'm good, buddy. How are you doing? You doing all right? Did you have a good Tuesday night? Good Wednesday?
Yeah. Shout out, man. What a great idea by Jeff, however many years ago, with his charity bowling tournament, and then Tom Lang coordinating all of it. Huge turnout. Shout out to a Brian and a Wes I met at the bowling alley, or District 850 is that what it's called? Shout out to those guys for coming in out and supporting, and then obviously it goes to the Guardian ad litem. Is that how you pronounce it? I can't pronounce it.
Litem. Guardian ad litem.
Yeah. Litem, yeah. That wasn't a Latin major, everybody. Corey, though, was. Little known fact. But great turnout. That was fun, man. It was cool to be part of that.
Carpe diem.
There we go. That's right.
There you go. That's part of my Latin education.
All right.
Semper Fi.
Okay.
Semper
keep going.
Fidelis. I'm trying to think of any other Latin phrases I know. There's probably a few in there, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Quid pro quo. You use that on the reg,
yeah.
right?
Well done. Well done.
So, let's see here. We're going to do Renegade Express real quick, though. This is kind of in the realm of that. Levy or Levy? We'll go with Levy. No, we'll go with Levy. Levy Stevens. Wake up, gentlemen. In regards to FSU's upcoming football-only complex, has there been any discussion on naming the building? If not, Warchant should spearhead a movement to name it after Coach Mickey Andrews. He is very much deserving of the honor, as I know y'all would agree. If not Coach Andrews, then it definitely should be named after Destyn Hill. Saturday, groundbreaking on the long-anticipated, much-awaited football-only facility, which will be called the Dunlap Practice Facility. Or there's a proper name to it. It's got the Dunlaps attached to it, but
right.
Yeah, it is going to be named. It's going to be the Dunlaps because
finally something will be named after Al Dunlap on the campus. So that's good to know.
The Dunlap football
Mickey has nothing. Mickey has nothing. But what did Mickey really do for the university?
Well, it's the way
Just
of the world,
coached there for
man.
25 years and turned the program around and made it a program worth donating money to for billionaires and millionaires to donate money to. But that's fine.
But Saturday it happens, the groundbreaking.
Correct. That's the more important. Not Corey's bitterness
and
anger about how the world works, but just they are finally doing it, Aslan. It's actually here. It's actually happening.
It is happening. So, yeah, man, I don't know if we all maybe win the Powerball and we all, I win it one week and you guys win the next week. Maybe we can pool our money together and get something built for Mickey, but that's the way it's going to have to happen. Money talks. I don't have a lot of it.
I wonder if you could, I guess you could, give a donation for a building in your honor and then pick a name that doesn't have to be your own. I guess that, I'm sure that, I don't know how many times that's happened in life, but that's something we could do if we win the Mega Millions.
Yeah.
I could give them $20 million and say, hey, I want it named after Mickey Andrews, or at least maybe Andrews Clark.
Yeah, or
you know what I mean? I need some love too. I'm giving $20 million, but I want Mickey's name front and center.
Andravandi, Like, half Andrews, half Hudjavandi, something
Okay.
like that.
All right.
We'll see how it goes.
It doesn't quite
Workshopping
roll
it.
off the tongue, but it's fine.
Well, that's you just being a white man, not respecting my culture. Let's get to the questions. Jimbo 11. We're coming out hot on this one, Corey. Jimbo 11. What was the family issue that kept Destyn Hill from enrolling the past 2 years, and has Warchant been able to assess the credibility of reports he would be signing with FSU in May of 2023? I don't know if you want to have a full-out editorial meeting here, if you want to take this one since your pay grade is a little bit above mine. It's newsworthy, I believe. I understand the curiosity behind it too, but I don't know where this is on our stovetop. Doesn't seem like it's on the front burner. I think it should be, but I don't make those decisions. Not mine. No,
and look, I don't know what the deal was with Destyn. Honestly, I don't. But if I did, I wouldn't tell you. It's not really like if we talk to him, if and when he shows up and we can talk to him, I'm sure we can ask him all about the last 2 years and where he's been and what's been going on. But I don't know. I don't know if that's, I think that's kind of the ball is in his court, whether he wants to talk about it or not. If he shows up in May, which again, that's 5 months away, 6 months away. So it'll be interesting. He's also it would have been, to me, it would have been a much bigger deal a year and a half ago. Their receiver room is stacked. I'm not going to say the last thing they need is a receiver because he might be awesome, and who knows, he might be a game changer, but it's one of the last things they need is another wide receiver in that room because they already got a dozen. So anyway, but I'm glad. I hope it works out, and I hope he's here, and I hope we get to watch him play football.
Yeah, there's many social media products out there that young people use to get their side of any story they want out there. It doesn't seem like he's very active on it, so I don't know, take that maybe for what it's worth. I did go creep mode. I didn't quite go look his mom up, call her. I remember somebody was like, his mom's a real estate agent. Why don't you call her and see what the deal is? Didn't quite go that extent, but did find her social media, her Twitter, and there hasn't been anything really related to Destyn since May of 2021, when on her Twitter she shared a link from her Instagram that appeared to be celebrating a graduation that she tagged Destyn in. But when you click on that link to take it to Instagram, the link is down. So otherwise, there hasn't. She retweeted something with Greedy Vance, shouting out Greedy Vance, but there wasn't. She didn't like the tweet by Sam Spiegelman. She didn't retweet it. And apparently her son Destyn really doesn't have much of an online presence. So I'd go into that sort of realm and try to find things, which I did. Couldn't find it out. But, Sam Spiegelman's pretty connected in Louisiana, so it's not just some random guy dropping this. But we'll see. May will be here before we know it, I'm sure, everybody. Noleboy02. Hey, Aslan and Corey. Wanted to start off by saying rest in peace to Mike Leach.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. R.I.P., yeah, agreed.
Yeah. Now for my question. What do you consider the moment the national media, parentheses ESPN, started to change their tune on FSU? Was it the Miami win, Florida, or all the way back in New Orleans? Merry Christmas. Let's beat OU.
I don't know how much the national media has changed their tune other than just, I think it's just as you stack up wins, people, recognize the wins. And you get credit for them. And so every time you win a game, especially when you're winning by 35 points, you get more and more credit. And you become more and more credible as a football team. So, I don't know, the Miami game, sure, I guess, because people were watching that. Then you look the next week, and I think the next week was Syracuse, who's a bowl team, and you destroy them. I think people are like, all right, yeah, Florida State might be for real. And so, yeah, maybe it started with LSU, but back then nobody knew what LSU was either. So it was like, oh, yeah, good win over an average team. Turned out LSU was not average, but at the time you thought they were. So I just think you keep stacking on wins, and you eventually get to a 9-3 spot where they have to notice you. But I don't know if there was a specific game because, I really don't. Miami 45-3 down there in that place when it's actually full was a very impressive win. But then, so was the next week at Syracuse.
Yeah, I think LSU game was a cool moment, but at that point in the Miami game, you'd kind of put enough together through the course of the season. Plus, I think the confluence of Clemson kind of stumbling and not looking as sharp. I think around that Miami game is when you heard certain guys from ESPN maybe talk about, look at this team and how much further they've come along. Because, I mean, even midway through the season, I think when they were going to that Wake Forest game, I think Desmond Howard said on game day he thought that FSU was the best team in the ACC, and he got some agreement on the panel there on game day. So, I mean, there was a little bit of it there early on, but I think the LSU game was kind of their first game. We'll see how they tune this thing up. So, I definitely think the Miami game kind of helped maybe flip any kind of narrative.
Well, don't you think, though, then the next week, too, with Syracuse, like just
all those Syracuse grads, all those Syracuse grads at ESPN, yeah, man,
right?
They saw
but also just from the perspective of your own fan base too, like cemented it. Like, okay, these aren't flukes. Like, yeah, you beat the crap out of Georgia Tech, but Georgia Tech's got interim coach. Okay, yeah, you beat the tar out of Miami, but they gave up, and and he's a first-year coach. There were all these excuses, but then when you do it 3 weeks in a row, just bludgeon someone, a decent bowl-ish team. That's when I think maybe people were like, man, that's not normal. 38-3 after a 45-3 after a whatever it was 41-10. Yeah, that's why I maybe the Syracuse game is when it kind of cemented that this was a different looking 8 or 9 win team. Like this was one of the maybe the best. I know it's not the greatest thing to say, but maybe the best 9-win team in the country.
Sweet. Old Dad's a Nole. We interrupt this for basketball programming. Wake up. Heard on the Purdue game this would be the last year of ACC Big Ten Challenge. I had no idea, but I could not be any happier. To me, it had gotten very stale. What are your thoughts on it going away and the new ACC SEC Challenge? And also, what do you think about what Jay Bellis said years ago, that it should be held in January or February when people are actually watching college basketball? Merry Christmas, Old Dad.
I agree with that. I'll be honest with you, Old Dad. I did not know that it was becoming the ACC SEC Challenge. I think that's cool.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool, and I do agree that it should be in January. Nobody cares about college basketball in November. Nobody.
Well, if you don't have this,
nobody.
If you don't have these events though in November, no one's really going to care about.
Yeah, but they don't. Basketball. I don't think they do anyway. They get lost in the shuffle. I can't name another other than Florida State losing to Purdue. I don't think I can name another ACC Big Ten game. And I'm a sports fan, so I just think that it would get more traction if you did it throughout January, and it's not just it's Florida State and Syracuse, and it's Duke, NC State. It's the same teams over and over again. It would be cool to spice it up a little in the middle of the season, so you don't finish your year with 18 straight conference games. You break it up a little bit, but I don't know that it really matters. College basketball is a distant second when it comes to college sports, and also it's easy to get stale when you play Purdue every year in the Big Ten Challenge, which is what Florida State has done. They've played Purdue more than they've played Duke the last 4 or 5 years, legitimately. It's crazy.
Later on the mailbag, random_John asks, with 2 wins in a row on the hardwood, is it choo-choo time? Florida State won 80-63 over South Carolina Upstate on Tuesday night.
No. But 3-9, that's nice. Got a game this weekend against St. John's down in where's that? Sunset? What the
Sunrise.
heck is the name?
Sunrise.
Yeah, Sunrise, Sunset. It's all the same. They're both beautiful, right? Down in Florida for the Orange Bowl Classic game. So maybe they can get to 3 in a row and get to 4-9. But no, they're not making the tournament. They probably have very little chance of having at least a 500 record. They just dug themselves too big a hole. Even with Baba coming back coming in 4 games now. He's got 4 more games to sit out.
More Mike Leach content. We got 2 of them here. Seminole Mike 1. What's happening, guys? Happy holidays to you, beat OU. Tribute to the Pirate. Please debate who wins Battle Royale of the ACC mascots, which is a good question. And then Noles_no_1. Aslan Corey, wake up. Have you heard if FSU or the Cheez-It Bowl plans on doing anything to honor Mike Leach? Maybe a helmet sticker. Keep up the good work.
No, I have not. Yeah. I assume they'll have a moment of silence, or they'll put his video. They'll put a picture of him on the video board. Maybe they'll do decals. I don't know. I don't know if he ever coached in that game.
No, I don't know. Yeah, I don't see a decal happening.
If he coached in the game, maybe you do something. But I don't think it will be like a Bobby Bowden. We're going to put his hat insignia on the the signage around the stadium. I don't know that you're going to do that for Mike Leach. And then for the
This is a tough one, the mascots.
Battle Royale.
Man.
So are we thinking obviously live mascots, not like could Osceola beat up the NC State Wolf? That's the kid in the wolf outfit. Like we're thinking about a wolf versus a
correct.
Seminole chief.
Correct. On horseback.
Okay, got it.
Well, here's a tricky thing. I think the answer would probably be a hurricane. It's a natural disaster.
Right, but
if
isn't
you're on
their
horseback,
mascot
you can go away from it, though.
But the mascot is the ibis. That's what I'm saying. That's what it's kind of a hard. Like the ibis isn't doing anything.
Right, it's just flying away to let you know. It's just it's fleeing. It's departing.
Yeah, it's flying away.
Yeah,
You're not scared of that thing.
It's retreating.
So we don't count the hurricanes. In a Blue Devil, I mean, again, what is it? Does he have magic powers?
Right. We don't know.
Does he have the power of Hades behind him? I don't know. If
Cavalier's
we're just taking
a little too soft, even though he's got a blade in his hand, a little too soft, you know.
A panther, a wolf.
Wolf pack, though.
I mean, a wolf pack, that's a pack of wolves.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the answer, right? There's a pack of them. Yellow Jackets you're not worried about. No. Orange, what a bunch of oranges are going to be thrown at you? No. Eagles, no.
Yeah, no. Cardinals, no.
A Hokie, a turkey, no. Yeah, what are you going to be scared of that? Well, everybody will cheer when you kill that thing. I would say a pack of wolves has to be the answer because, number one, it's a pack. Everything else is singular. Right. It's the only plural one. Unless hurricanes count, then obviously hurricanes won.
Seminole Life. This is the what is this, Aslan? This is going to be the defensive portion of the show, Court. We're going to bundle three together. Buckle up. Wake up, boys, Seminole Life says. With the defense struggling against good quarterbacks, what do you think is the fix on the defensive side of the ball? Better talent, learn how to play better zone, or could it possibly be coaching? He wonders aloud. Shoe catcher, Cameron and others, Jeff Cameron that is, and others have repeatedly pointed out that there are both talent and coaching issues with the secondary. Kids still can't play the zone. They can't communicate well, poor technique. If we can't even recruit the talent needed to fill the holes at defensive back in this recruiting and transfer cycle, what are the chances Coach Mike Norvell would make some defensive coaching changes in January? I don't know. I find that highly unlikely. And then the last one, Bowden Law. With the offense seemingly ready to explode in 2023, let's talk defense. What young player from the current team has impressed you the most and is primed to have a breakout? Then he gives us a bonus question with a transfer. We'll come back to that one. But I guess let's explore the first parts of these questions, Corey, just about the defense, generally speaking. It feels like talent-wise, Adam Fuller probably got the best you could expect out of what he had. We like some of these guys a lot, right? Like we like Jamie Robinson a lot. We like Renardo Green a lot, but I don't know if Renardo Green's at the same vintage of a guy like Jamie Robinson. We like Jared Verse a lot. Fabian was hurt most of the season. I think you trust what he does, what he knows. Maybe if there's some sort of miscommunication or maybe one of the assistants is not on the same page, maybe they think they can get something better out of someone else out there. That could slim chance of happening, but otherwise I don't know what you would see from this defense that makes you feel like an urgent, pressing need to shake up the staff. I think you trust what's out there in the portal and hope that you can improve that way rather than shaking up the staff.
Yeah, I mean, look, Norvell would know better than us, right? Like when it comes to recruiting, our teaching, like who's getting it done and who's not. But the proof on Saturdays wasn't, I mean, the evidence wasn't horrible, guys. I mean, they were top 15, 20 in the country. And yeah, they did not look good against good quarterbacks. Very few people do. Think of all the defenses that somehow weirdly didn't look good against Jordan Travis. Good quarterbacks do that to you. Now, that does not absolve coaching mistakes. And again, I'll always go back to that the Clemson game. Like that's the one that I thought got away from them, and I thought they were poorly coached or poorly coordinated in that game because they gave up some wide open plays that ended the game to an offense that is not good, to a quarterback that is not good. There's no shame in giving up 30 to Sam Hartman and giving up points to Jaden Daniels and Malik Cunningham. Those guys are players. DJ is a guy that's in the portal now. He didn't belong on the – he's not as good as your quarterback. Not close, really. But you made him look like Trevor Lawrence for a night. So I'll never quite You don't get a pass for that. You can say, oh, yeah, they played good. Yeah, you let them play good. You let them play well. You gave him free guys to throw to. But he doesn't have great talent now. So it's not like he's loaded for bear with 5, 6, 7 NFL draft picks. Certainly not early round draft picks. You got one maybe in Burse. Jamie Robinson, 3rd, 4th rounder maybe. Fabian Lovett,
maybe coming back.
6th rounder.
Who knows? Yeah, who knows?
So you're not loaded with great talent. So if Norvell makes a change, it'll I think it could be more about. I mean, it could be. Look, they don't play zone well. They have not played zone well. Jeff's right about that since Fuller got here. They just kind of struggle with it. But when you think about the totality of the season, especially compared to the previous 2 years, there were very few breakdowns. There were some awful moments. First half against Louisville. First, two and a half quarters against Wake. Whole game against Clemson. There were some moments. Florida. But overall, they weren't an embarrassment. They did play. They played sound. They played fundamentally sound. They didn't just give up free touchdowns. And so if you give this guy more talent to work with than he currently had, and look, that defensive line, when you take away Fabian Lovett from it, and Jared Verse is playing on one leg, there is nothing special about that front seven. Nothing. They've got some good college football players sprinkled in there, or guys that might be good, but there is nothing special about it. See what he does if he gets like a Jared Verse back and a couple of other special dudes to join him in the front seven. And then all of a sudden, I think Adam Fuller will look even better than he looked this past year when he took a defense that was like 81st in the country 2 years ago into the top 20 in 2 years.
Yeah, 14th in total defense, allowing 307 yards per game. Scoring defense, 16th, allowing 19.7 points per game.
Yeah, and look, I'm guilty of this too. Like I just went off on the Clemson game for 90 seconds, but Georgia gave up 500 yards passing to LSU. Georgia, 500 yards passing
to the backup quarterback from LSU.
Yeah, and half of it was to the backup. Like that's great in a game that really mattered to them. That's crazy. So it's really hard to play defense in 2022. Adam Fuller says that all the time. And I don't think he's saying that as like, hey, don't fire me. This is really hard what I do. But watch college football. There's a lot of big scores. It is just hard to get consistent stops on that side of the ball. Even Clemson, who had an NFL front line on defense, struggled at times, including against Florida State, to get stops and to get 3 and outs. So I just want to see what it looks like with better players, and the better players should be coming.
Yeah, well said.
It's fair though, right? It's fair. They didn't play well again, especially when the last taste in your mouth is the Florida game, because that's not a great offense. It's a good offensive line. That's not a great offense. You made it look pretty great, and you made Clemson look great. That's two not great offenses that you made look great.
And I guess the argument, too, might be made that the offense isn't really flush with NFL talent, yet they are, quite dynamic, quite explosive. I mean, statistically, they're in the same realm of the defense. But I guess when you have a quarterback like that, that really does kind of
elite,
change.
I guess. Like Jordan's elite. I don't know what kind of NFL quarterback he's going to be, but he's an elite college player. Who on defense this year was elite?
Jamie, maybe for like 12 whole weeks. That's the thing, too. Like Jared Verse, maybe in spurts. But
Jared Verse would be if he was healthy,
yeah,
but he wasn't. And Jamie, Jamie's a very good college football player. He's not T-Buck.
Right.
He's not a first-round talent.
He's not an eraser. He's not turnover
but
machine. He's
awesome.
Yeah.
I love what he's meant to the program. I love how he plays football. He's just not what you would call NFL elite or just elite. He's not an elite safety. He's not making any All-American teams. So I don't know. It's hard to play defense in 2023.
Friday, bowl season starts, everybody. Corey, we're going to just do every single game of the bowls. Not right now, but as they happen. What? So we can
okay.
The
battle,
all right,
gotcha.
I need to defend my honor here.
Yeah.
And we're going to do it courtesy of our good friends over at MyBookie, mybookie.ag. You can also bet on the World Cup final. It's going to be France versus Argentina, Messi versus the champs. Get involved. Get a little sweat going on. Use the promo code WARCHANT. You will receive a cash back bonus commensurate with your deposit on your first deposit at MyBookie when you use the promo code WARCHANT. So First one, the Bahamas Bowl. The Red Hawks of Miami of Ohio taking on the UAB Blazers, the Fighting Trent Dilfers. UAB favored by 11.5, Corey. Who you got?
Who was the first team you said?
Miami of Ohio.
I'm going to take Miami of Ohio.
Okay, so am I.
Okay, nice. Good. That's a lot of points. That's a lot of points in a bowl game.
That's a significant amount of points. The second bowl game is going to be the Cure Bowl game, which is between Troy and Texas San Antonio. Troy,
is it after the band, The Cure?
Yeah.
Is that who sponsors it?
Robert
Smith, right?
He's going to be out there doing the coin toss.
Oh, man, that's awesome. I knew he was a huge college football fan. I could just tell that dude loved football.
Roadrunners, 1.5 underdogs to Troy. I'm going to go, I'm going to take Texas San Antonio. Their quarterback's coming back for a 7th year next year. I think he's going to keep it rolling. Troy's been good, though.
Okay, yeah, I'll go with that, too. Sounds good.
He's going to match me. He's going to match me. Corey's going to match you so he can't lose.
Yeah, can't lose. Can't lose.
You can't lose when you go to mybookie.ag and use that promo code WARCHANT. Enjoy that bonus, cash back bonus, only at mybookie.ag. Back at it, Corey. These two questions regarding Mike Norvell and his status as head football coach at Florida State. B50, hello, gents. Thinking of when the SEC comes poaching with their pocketbooks and tries to take a stab at Mike and or the staff. When does FSU get serious and feel they better lock him up long term? His recruiting, portal evaluations, and having a program trending up seems enough to at least start having some conversations behind closed doors. I know his staff will come and go, but we certainly do not want to start from scratch again. With the Mississippi State job opening, RIP Mike Leach, it's a conversation that is definitely needed. Great job you guys do. Go Noles. And that's one way to ask it. And the second way to ask it would be Casey_Chance13. When is Mike getting a raise? He needs a new deal. Before the bowl game or after the bowl game? That's really the question.
I would say probably in the week leading up to the bowl game.
Yeah,
I would think like 2 or 3 days before, maybe the day of the game.
Yeah.
They announce it. That seems to be how college football works and how it kind of worked with Jimbo when he was here. He was the last coach we covered that got one. But man, I was just thinking about this. So the Giants just signed Carlos Correa for like 11 years, $360 million or whatever in the San Francisco Giants for baseball. Imagine if after 2 years the Yankees could just come buy out his contract and he could play with them. Like, why does this happen in college football and seemingly only college athletics? Like, why are these contracts not binding, but every other contract in any sport we watch is? And I guess I don't know how it works in international soccer. I know those guys are getting bought out and sold to different teams all the time.
Yeah, transfer fees.
But when LeBron signs with the Lakers, you can't just come a year later and buy him. You have to trade for him. But in college football, you've got a $4 million contract. All right, it's as good as that paper it's written on. It's worth as much about as that paper it's written on because some team can come and just buy you out. It's just odd that college athletics let itself get like this, where this is just the status quo. Like, yeah, Dansby Swanson's going to sign for $200 million. If the Braves wanted Freddie Freeman back, they can't just go get him. They have to trade for him because he's the Dodgers' property. It's in the contract. But with Florida State and Mike Norvell, yeah, whatever. If Auburn wants him, Auburn can go get him. They just offer him more money.
$6.75 million the first year of his new contract. Over under, Corey?
Under.
Over. So over.
I mean, look, man, it's been 1 year. I like the guy. I really want him to be awesome. But it's been 1 year. Who are you bidding against right now? So why do it to yourself right now? Because what if he goes 11-1 next year? And then Texas A&M really does come after him. What do you do then? You got to bump him up to 8, to 9? Then what's the point of bumping him up to 6.5 right now? So then you can, every year it's going to happen as long as he's good. And he's got his agent. So I don't know, man. I don't think you need to double his salary for a 9-win regular season. I love what he's doing. I believe in the guy. I don't think Florida State is cheap, but I also don't think you need to bid against yourself right now. Where's he going? If you don't give him a raise right now, this month, Where's Mike Norvell going in January?
But
who's got an opening?
Isn't it about making him feel appreciated so he'll continue this? And you're so it's almost too that you're so afraid. You had this sort of arrogance, this kind of quiet arrogance about you that, listen, Bobby Bowden got this thing rolling. That Jimbo guy won a national championship. It doesn't matter who we hire. It's Florida State. And then you saw what happens when you don't make a good hire and just how catastrophic it can be to you, at least like in the short term, because you make your next hire well and everything is all right. But maybe you kind of think, hey, listen, we kind of maybe struck gold here. We got a bargain deal. There's not a lot of these guys growing on trees out there. Or maybe this just reignites your thought that we can put anybody here. As long as they're not a horrible hire, we can make a decent hire at Florida State and we'll be all right. Because
what if you bump them up to 7 for next year and they go 4-8, and then you're stuck? Like, why do that to yourself? I'm not saying he doesn't deserve a raise. He does. He deserves a raise. I guess he needs an extension, because I know those 2026 kids are like, hey, what? Mike Norvell hadn't got his extension yet? What? Like, I know that's what they're texting about. No, obviously that's what the agents tell the presidents and ADs. Like, hey, nobody has confidence that this coach is going to be here unless you extend him and he gets another 2 years on his deal. But if you go to 7 now, it means you're going to have to go to 10 when he really does something special. And can Florida State afford to go to 10? Because he's not going to feel appreciated if he goes to 7 and then A&M comes and offers him 9.5. So I don't know. I mean, you might be going to that. You might be going there anyway. I look, man, Mississippi State has an opening. I don't know what they're going to do, but they could come after a Mike Norvell. If that happens, you got to compete. But I don't know that that you need to double somebody's salary after one 9-win season. I do think you're right, though. You have to make him feel appreciated. I think he does feel appreciated. I think the bump that he will get will show appreciation. I think that the fact that they're breaking ground on this football facility, the fact that there's these collectives that are filling his roster with players, all that shows appreciation from the university and the people around the university. But yes, I do think you don't want to have one of the lowest paid coaches in the state.
Yeah, collectives are a little bit different.
It's still part of the same kitty. It's still part of the same pool of money.
Well, not his money, though. But this is a little bit moot because Mississippi State has just gone ahead and signed their defensive coordinator to become their next head coach. So
did that just happen as we were talking?
Yeah, just happened. So
like he's not the interim.
For real. Yeah.
Right. Hey, well, you dodged a bullet, Nole fans. There's nobody else you're competing with. So I can't imagine Norvell would go to the NFL. I can't imagine his style playing at that level, or he even wanting to do that. I could be completely naive and wrong. But yeah, I think you'll give him a bump. I think it happens the week of the game. I don't think you need to get into SEC territory right now. Frankly, it's 9 wins. Let's see, maybe even 10 wins. And also wait to give him the home run raise when he earns the home run and somebody else is coming for him. That's when you got to do it.
Corey Clark is advocating on paying your football coach less than the head football coach at Missouri, everybody. Just remember that.
Hey, man, you don't have to be as dumb as Missouri.
Lane's deal is 6 years, average of $9 million.
You can't compete with that. That's what I'm saying. So you go up now. What does it get you? What does it buy you even?
Right.
What does it buy you even?
Yeah, what if he wins a national title next year? Then what? We got to give you 11? We don't have
that's
that.
What I literally don't know. And it's only going to get worse. This disparity is only going to grow because of the TV revenue and the new TV contract. But I don't know what you're left to do, what you can do. Like when Jimbo was getting suited, the difference wasn't like this. Like LSU was offering 6 or 7, and he was getting paid 5.5. Right. But if a team can come in and offer, if Mike Norvell goes and wins a championship next year, and Auburn, let's say A&M does fire Jimbo, they might come and offer the guy $11 million. What can you do? Yeah. So, okay, well, you bumped him to 7 for 1 year that did you a fat load of nothing. Now, you can restructure it where you get paid like it's, if somebody comes and buys you out, they buy you out for, I don't know, man, $70 million. That would be cool. That'd be cool to actually get some money, unlike the Jimbo contract where he didn't get diddly poo when he left. But yeah, other than that, I don't know what purpose would it serve from saving him from an SEC school if you can't compete with the SEC money when they really want a guy.
Random_John. These are going to be 2 questions regarding the future. Good morning, Aslan and Corey. Hope you both have had and continue to have wonderful holiday seasons and wish you both a happy new year.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks, John. Given the positive jump we saw in our team this year, what do you foresee being attainable as another positive jump forward? 11? 12 wins? What heights do you see us reaching? Would you see a step backwards? What would be the reason for your answer? We'll also pair that up with our friend down here, Warpath Noel. Wake up, fellas. Happy holidays to you and yours. While very happy with the team this year, I think you guys are jumping the gun on saying a national championship could happen next year. I don't think we've said that at all. We might have upgraded to a playoff appearance, one of us, but we didn't say national championship. You are setting unrealistic expectations. Do I think an ACC championship is possible? Yes. What about this defense makes you think a national title is even possible? Doesn't the 12-team playoff not start till 2024? Correct. All right, so what do we see for next year? I guess Corey's going to be like, ask me in 3 weeks when we know what the roster looks like.
Well, I mean, that's fair, right? It's probably a fair retort. But also I would say, TCU is 2 wins away from a national championship. Michigan lost its entire defense last year from a team that got boat raced by Georgia, and now I think they're the best team in the country. Like, you can't sit here and say that a team that went 9-3 could go 10-3 and will have one of the best offenses in the country, that it's a pipe dream that they get to the playoffs. Right. They have to have a good defense next year because their offense, if the quarterback stays healthy and they don't get just a rash of injuries, will be one of the best in the country. So that's a nice recipe to win 11 games. And if you win 11 games, you're at least in the conversation. TCU's in the playoff, man. Don't act like Florida State next year with a great quarterback in a really great offense, better than TCU's.
In this conference, playing Southern Miss, Northern Iowa.
The schedule matters too. They're not in the SEC West. Duke. They're not in the Big Ten North or whatever that stupid. Are they a leader, a legend? I can't remember with the Big Ten anymore. But
they're East and West. But yeah, no.
Oh, there you go. So yeah, man, it's not out of the realm of possibility. I'm certainly not predicting it, and I certainly don't think they're like the favorite to win a national championship. But TCU's 2 wins away from it. I didn't think Georgia. Look how much Georgia lost. Look at they have a walk-on at quarterback. Crazy things happen in college football, and the parity will never be. The parity is always going to be like this. The portal has just changed the game. Alabama lost 2 games this year. Now, they were both by a point in overtime, I feel like, but they also could have lost 2 or 3 other games. They are not a dominant UConn women's basketball force anymore. All these teams almost lose a lot of games. Georgia almost lost to Missouri, for crying out loud. Scored 16 against Kentucky. So Kentucky lost to Vanderbilt. So, yeah, man, I just, look, you have to get lucky. You have to have some luck, turnover luck, injury luck, and all that. But Florida State, I think, has now put itself in a position where if it has a special season, it's at least a possibility to get to the playoff, which I can't even believe I'm saying that, but it's the truth. Yeah. That said, I'm not predicting it. But to answer the other question, I think I said this on headlines. I think if you're another 9 or 10 win season, that's all you can hope for, right? Just be relevant, stay relevant. Like, we can say, yeah, if they only win 9 games again next year, it's a disappointment. Well, what a great place that is to be, right? Where you as a Florida State fan are disappointed by a 9-win season. So I just think if you're a top 15 team, you're in every game, you win most of them, you hopefully get to 10 or 11 wins. But even if you get to 9 wins again, 9 or 10 wins, which this team might get to, I don't necessarily think that's a step sideways or a step backwards. I think that's 2 really good seasons stacked on top of each other, which is a step forward.
I can't imagine them going backwards, although...
Correct, unless crazy injuries happen, right?
Right. After his first 10-win season, though, in Memphis, the following season, they did take a step back and they won 8 games. I'm trying to figure out. I can't find it quite as quickly as I wanted to, but they did have a transition at quarterback that year. They went from Riley Ferguson with 10 wins and gave way to Brady White the next season, but Brady White was the quarterback the last season that Mike Norvell was in Memphis and got them to the New Year's Six Bowl. So it would be really weird to see them kind of taking a step back. Now, I think for sure, 11 wins that's in the realm. You play 12 regular season games.
It was in the realm this year, right?
Yeah.
They were a lot closer to 11 wins than they were to 4 or 5. And we think they're going to be better next year?
Yes.
With an easier schedule.
Yes.
All right.
I wonder. The only thing is, I mean, there's going to be way more pressure on them. Although they've shown the ability, they're a mature team. They are player-led. I mean, those guys keep each other accountable and in check. But it's going to be a little bit of Rocky 3, man. It's going to be a lot of feeling good about yourself, hearing how good you are. I mean, Jordan Travis is going to be – I mean, Jordan Travis wasn't on any list preseason, I don't think. He is going to be on the top of every one of these. Guys are going to have their NIL deals, in their back pocket. They're going to feel good about that, but they're going to have their eyes on other things. I trust Mike Norvell to keep it focused on the present. But, I mean, you are going to have maybe one of the 5 best college quarterbacks in 2023 on your team.
Yeah.
But then think about who thought, we thought all these other quarterbacks were better last year. Like, I wonder if there's going to be a pressure to capitalize on that. Because I know the playoff starts in 24, but you're not going to have Jordan Travis as your quarterback. Not to say you won't have somebody good, but maybe there will be a legitimate pressure around this team to feel like, hey, this conference is wide open. We need to win it. And it's a little bit of a different kind of mentality there. But
I also think it's a mentality of like, you've been there. And look, Florida State, they've had a nice season. They still haven't won a championship, so you would hope they'd come into the offseason and into the preseason not thinking they've arrived, because they really haven't. Oh, even if they win the Cheez-It Bowl, great, man, you're in the Cheez-It Bowl. Like, let's not take too many bows. And I'm look, man, it's been a great season for us. It's been really fun to cover. I'm not trying to diminish it. It really has been a resurrection of a program. But if you take a step back and look at it objectively, okay, it's a 10-win season that finished in the Cheez-It Bowl. So you have not arrived yet, especially at a place like Florida State. So I don't think they'll have that mindset of, we're big and bad, we've arrived. You think they still have that hunger to prove them, like that they still have a chip on their shoulder to try to prove that they're good and they haven't arrived, and it's a completely different sport. But it's like the Hawks a couple years ago made the Eastern Conference Finals. And then they started the next year as if they were the reigning champs.
Right.
And they've been dog crap really ever since. They just have not. So it was like, okay, that was a nice 3-week stretch, but you didn't accomplish anything. You got to the Eastern Conference Finals. Great. That you didn't. You're not the champs. You're not the Spurs of the early 2000s. So you hope Florida State still comes in as like the underdog. That they come in with that chip on their shoulder that nobody believes in us, because not many people will, I don't think, to really challenge for a national championship. You hope they have that kind of mentality and not, we've arrived, I've got a big NIL deal, why am I not getting the ball?
We'll see. Island Chief, wake up. 'Tis a season for fellowship and glad tidings of great joy and peace on earth. Fa la 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 la. Remembering back to 2020 when Mike Norvell would call timeouts at the end of games and they were getting whipped so that we might score, going for it improbably on 4th down, playing till the last whistle. Could you see this was what he was after? Did you think it would look like this? Also, best Christmas movie. I certainly did not. No, I did not think it would look like this at all. I never thought too much about – I know you and Ira, I think you guys looked at a little bit higher level, maybe on headlines, but like I never really read too much into him using timeouts and trying to extend games when they had no chance as setting up future examples of resiliency. Like I didn't really – I just thought they were so far away that kind of stuff was really meaningless even in the present time there. So probably not the best person to answer this question, but no, absolutely did not see this quarterback being anywhere near this offensive line being anywhere near as efficient and functional as they have been. Trey Benson being who he is, none of it at all. So I don't know how much credit does that get, though, because the guys I just listed, I mean, Jordan played 2020, but Trey Benson didn't. Dylan Gibbons did not. Dimitri Emmanuel did not. Robert Scott was a pup. I mean, a lot of guys that were taking those lumps in 2020 didn't necessarily put this team on their shoulder, but I guess helped create a culture.
It did, and those young guys took a lot of lumps, and they got better talent around them, a lot of talent compared to what they had in 2020, which was very, very little. I would say I did not expect more than anything the offense to look like this. And honestly, after 2020, I wasn't sure Adam Fuller would still be here because that defense was so bad. But then you look at who he was working with. And again, that I know they get paid to work. You know, you got a coach who's on your team. But his starting linebackers in that Notre Dame game were Steven Dix and DJ Lundy. DJ Lundy's your fourth linebacker now, 2 years later. And Steven Dix, I know he was injured. He was not going to probably factor in much at all, any rate. And he was starting in South Bend. That's the hand he was dealt during that COVID fiasco of a season. So, you know, but no, to answer the question, I did not think it could look like this. And I'm glad it does.
Yes.
I'm glad it does.
Yes.
I believe in the dude. I'd wrap him up for a 15-year, $300 million contract.
Ooh.
20 a year, Aslan. Nobody's gonna come after him if he's got that contract.
What if Bama comes after him? Like, what if this coincides with Saban stepping down, then Bama comes and takes him away from us?
I mean, wouldn't that be a fun job?
That'd be awesome.
Go replace Nick Saban. Have fun, Mike.
RBI 1984. Wake up, Noles, as always.
The best Christmas movie is
Home Alone.
Die Hard 2. Everybody argues about Die Hard being a Christmas movie, but I saw Die Hard 2 on cable the other day. That's a Christmas movie too.
It's bona fide, yeah.
Yeah, I mean they got wreaths around the airport. It's snowy. Yeah, I'd say. I mean, they don't say Merry Christmas a lot. It's not a Christmas party at the airport, but that's why the airport's so full, because it's Christmas travel. So, and I think I like Die Hard 2 better than the original.
Ooh, take that back.
It's
an underrated sequel. It's a very underrated sequel, but come on.
I love the dude. He was the senator from Tennessee that was always in those movies in the late 80s. Yeah, man, that dude could act. I don't know what kind of senator he was, but he was a really good actor, man. Dennis Franz in there being a thorn in McClane's side. The dad from Coming to America. Like, there's some really good performances in that.
John P. Amos, I think, or something like that. Yeah, man. I've never seen Elf. A lot of people say Elf. For me, it's probably either Home Alone or Christmas Vacation.
Elf's funny, but it's Will Ferrell being goofy, like kid funny.
Yeah,
like
that's what
goofy,
I think.
Like a goofy kid.
I think you have to have maybe kids to enjoy that movie. Like, I don't think I could sit and watch that myself or with a
probably not.
woman of my vintage.
Growing up, my dad used to take me to the game at the stadium. We'd watch our favorite team play, and then we'd always eat at Zaxby's. That's why it means so much to me that Zaxby's is the official chicken of college fans. To me, they go together perfectly. It reminds me of my dad and...
Oh, come on, Ref! Are you serious? Get some glasses! Terrible call!
Now I take my kids to the game, and we always eat at Zaxby's too. It's tradition.
We're proud to be the official chicken of college fans. Zaxby's, indescribably good.
And don't forget to listen in for the Zaxby's Indescribably Good Player of the Week every Monday on Wake Up Warchant.
RBI 1984, thank you for answering the Christmas question. Thank you for the question as well, Island Chief. As always, the content on the whole from Warchant on 3 is amazing and appreciated. Question. Thank you, by the way, RBI 1984.
Yeah, thank you.
I remember the days Bowden would consistently, or rather constantly, point out the advantage of the extra practice days they could use as a result of a bowl game to get ready for. He would say the practice helped his program develop the younger players before the bowl game and off-season conditioning, and was a competitive advantage in maintaining the program's elite status. What offensive and defensive unit or players do you think will benefit the greatest during these practices leading up to our little tussle with Oklahoma? Or is it as vital with the transfer portal now in existence?
I mean, I think it does help, especially the way they do it a little odd. I mean, maybe it's not odd. Maybe it's how most schools do it these days. But they're veterans, at least through the first 3 practices, have practiced like for 15 periods, but then they bounce. And then the last 30 minutes of practice are just the scout team newcomer guys trying to get real work. And I think that's really beneficial for them to like go over the game plan and work, like not just be tackling dummies and scout team dummies, but actually get real work as Florida State Seminoles and not as the DB for Oklahoma. So that's good for them. But I don't know what real impact it can make. It's hard to like quantify, right? Like what these, I think they're going to have 13 practices, 12 practices, whatever ends up being, what these practices do for next season. It certainly doesn't hurt though. It's 12 practices you didn't get. You got to assume that helps more than it can't hurt.
I mean, guys on the offensive line, possibly, you're going to lose Dylan Gibbons.
Yeah.
Possibly Dimitri Manuel. So maybe that helps guys like Kanaya Charlton get some more action. Maybe Bryson Estes can string some stuff together here. But I'm always keeping an eye on but I don't know, man. I think really comes down to every segment on this team right now. You feel good about quarterback and running back. All those other positions need the snaps, man. Daniel Lyons and Bishop Thomas and Malcolm Ray need all the reps they can get ready for next year. Derek McLennan still needs polishing. Patrick Payne hasn't arrived. He's definitely going to be something very good for this program moving forward. So I don't. There really isn't any particular group that I think of like, man, they're really going to be able to utilize these periods and these days well better than any other segment. But I mean, I see guys like Kentron Portier was really getting coached up hard, getting a lot more action, even in those first 15 periods where it's some of the more older, established guys. So maybe Malik McClain needs to kind of take advantage of these opportunities because that room is full. And even a guy like that needs to use these opportunities to kind of like, hey, man, I'm still here. I want to be around. Utilize me. So, but we'll see how it works out when they'll be practicing, next week, Corey? They're off this week. Obviously, they'll return
Correct.
next week, and then we'll be in Orlando when they start practicing. So maybe we'll have some more observations to share with you folks at that time. Moving along now, let's see how I'll figure this one. War or well, actually, we'll go to Teacher Knoll first. He's got a two-part of that. We'll segue into the other one, but we'll kind of bundle it. All right, since the offense looks like it's set, who are some of the portal transfers that we should be watching on the defensive side of the ball? I will use a lifeline, and I will refer to Michael Langston's reporting over on the Premium Recruiting Board.
Don't give it all away. Don't give it all away.
Well, Fentrell Cypress, the defensive back out of Virginia that was all conference, that's being hotly pursued by many programs. I think he has a top 3. I think Ohio State's in the mix as well. He's going to be on campus this weekend.
There you go.
And he's a cornerback. That would
I
certainly
think he's the
help.
number one on 3. I think he's the number 1 player in the country overall in the portal.
Right, yeah, because and the second was a kid from Rhode Island. I think Devin Leary was 3rd, because remember I was like, Devin Leary's number 2 or something. I was wrong on that. But yeah, Fetchel Cypress is also a group of 5 defensive linemen that's name has been out there that I think that's maybe one of the other really high ticket items, if you will, out there for Florida State. So that's who I think you should be watching for on the defensive side of the ball right now. But this thing is fluid. It changes all the time. We'll see. Maybe in the next week, some of these guys go home for the holidays and talk to their families and decide they wanted a merrier Christmas, and they can find ways of making that happen. The second part of his question also coincides with the question from War Or, which is, what up, wake up, guys. What are your thoughts on Tre'shaun Ward? He's been quiet. Teacher Noel wonders if Ward stays or transfers. It's crazy. Listen, man, all these quarterbacks we talked about in the preseason being better than Jordan Travis, clearly we're not. 8 weeks ago, 9 weeks ago, Tre'shaun Ward was the best running back in what we thought was a pretty above-average running back room.
Yep.
Man, he is no longer that guy.
Right.
Him is Trey Benson. You think Rodney Hill's maybe a little bit more patient, so maybe he's got some more tread on the tire to stick around. I don't want to say odd man out, but, man, we don't talk about Lawrence Toafili either. I feel like he's used more as a specialty guy, and maybe he thinks deep down he can be an every down guy that's not just a specialty kind of sub-package guy. But would I be surprised if Tre'shaun Ward transferred? Like, no. I can't imagine. Like 9 weeks ago, if you would have told me that, I'd be like, what? Absolutely not. But such is life in the portal.
Yeah, and I look, Rodney Hill announced, I think Battle's End with him and Lawrence Toafili, that they were coming back. Tre'shaun Ward has not announced anything, and I just think that's the reality of this sport. You don't need 4 running backs, and I don't think they're like telling Tre'shaun to, hey, we don't want you, leave. But if you're Tre'shaun Ward and you might be the 3rd-string running back your last year in college, or you could go somewhere else and get 15 to 17 carries a game because you're good, you might do that. So I just think that's the reality. Like, why, and look, man, Tre'shaun Ward has been great for this program. He was a transition guy. He was, as Aslan said, the best running back on the team until Benson figured it out. Made a lot of big plays for this offense over the years, but he could be. There's not much he gives you other than experience that Rodney Hill doesn't have, and Rodney Hill's younger. and Rodney Hill might be ready to take off. You desperately want to keep Rodney Hill, which you have. Tre'shaun Ward's got 1 year left. You know what he is. If he wants to go to another school and perform and get 150 or 200 carries, go get 200 carries somewhere else, I think you just wish him well, right? And you would not be surprised at all. Look, man, they can't have 13 receivers on scholarship either. So they've got at least one running back coming in. They've got 2 other receivers coming in. So with that in mind, there's going to be some receivers to hit the portal. There's going to be some running backs to hit the portal.
I hate
at least a running back, I think.
Yeah, but this is the bad part of the portal I don't like. But I guess it's at least he has a lifeline to go out
he's
there.
not getting run off, right? You're not like saying, hey, Tre'Shaun, leave.
I mean, if he's not getting a deal with the collective, that kind of is. I mean, in this day and age, that's being run off, I feel like. But, I mean, he came as a walk-on. He earned a scholarship. You put him on scholarship.
Yeah.
You showcased him enough that I think there probably would be a program out there that could say, like, yeah, man, we like
Absolutely.
you to give you 15 snaps, and we can give you $15,000 too. I mean, so it's not the worst thing in the world, but
he would not struggle to find a landing spot somewhere. I mean, heck, look at the country. It's a bunch of ex-Florida State running backs crushing it all over this great land of ours. So Tre'Shaun Ward could be one next year. It's just when you have a roster size of 85 and you've got a salary cap of sorts, you got to be smart with the money you spend and the roster space you limit to the running back room.
XDQ004, it's our guy Derek. Let's go a little hustle here, so we can get maybe the rest of these in the next 12 minutes, but I doubt it.
Yeah,
wake up.
Let's go.
Name a player who hasn't played a lot this year that you would like to see get some good snaps in the bowl game. Derek says Byron Turner, Jarrell Powers are his. Happy holidays. Support the sponsors. Support the collectives. Go Noles.
I have a feeling Jarrell Powers is going to get in there a little bit. I just do. Winston Wright. Does that count? Is that a good answer?
Ooh, yeah. Really good answer, Corey. Really good answer. I'll stay on the Brian Courtney train, which is probably a kiss of death at this point. Everybody I hype up just never ends up seeing the light of day. But
I hope Brian Courtney gets in there too. I agree with you.
Tennis ump. Wake up. Thank you, by the way, Derek. I'm curious to know the buzz around campus. I was there in 77 when it started to get rolling for the first time. It was truly palpable throughout the entire city. Such a fun time, and I imagine it is more of the same. Or are the students so beat down from the last few years that they are very skeptical? Thanks as always. Well, I'm not your man on the street reporter when it comes to like getting the pulse of the kids. But that Boston College game was
recess
pretty,
a lot, though. Are they excited when you're up at recess? Do they talk about the team a lot?
Yeah, like, hey, man, I read Michael's report, man.
Yeah, that's right.
Is that kid coming? That Boston College game, it's a shame they had that skid before Clemson because that could have been something special. But that Florida game was pretty jumping for Friday after Thanksgiving. So, but in terms of like the city as a whole, I'm closer to campus than Corey is. I wouldn't say it's the good old days again, but I think everybody's ready to love again, and next year should set the scene for going into the first year of the playoff the following season, in this city being fully back in the glory days.
It'd be better if the home schedule was better for next year, but even still, yes, I think they after 5 years of awful. I feel like the students now know what it's like to cheer for a good football team, and I think next year, and the students were great, really the whole season. They showed up and showed out. They'd leave at halftime, but that's fine. They showed up. I think this fan base is really just judging by the tickets for the Cheez-It Bowl too. I think this there is some excitement, a lot of excitement that's been generated by this team, and it should only ramp up going into next year.
Niner Knoll, wake up. Been a while since I posted my first question, so here's my second one. As it seems, there is getting to be an embarrassment of riches on the offensive side of the ball. Corey mentioned that. Lots of receivers, lots of running backs. What's the best way to keep all these playmakers happy and or engaged? I could easily see several people unhappy and eventually leaving, putting FSU back to having to fill holes in those spots.
Well, yeah. We just talked about Tre'Shaun. You're going to have 5-6 scholar. You also have the kid from Penn State. I mean, you're going to have literally like 6 scholarship running backs on roster if Tre'Shaun stays. And wide receiver, there's even more. You can't keep them all happy. I mean, look at Alabama, man. They've lost 4 wide receivers that were recruits in the last 2 years that are gone. Like you can't keep them happy. So just know, I don't know when it's coming, but there will be some receivers and a running back or two that hit the portal. I mean, You don't want to be the 9th receiver on a football team. So maybe it happens after the spring where they really see where they are on the depth chart. Maybe it happens after the bowl game, or maybe it happens right now as I'm talking. But you can't keep them happy, and there are going to be some departures from the offensive side of the ball. There just has to be.
Yeah, but the guys that you keep here engaged and happy is through NIL collectives, which I think
correct.
Is
yes,
kind of a cap.
Good answer.
Sorry, Sam MH, wake up. How are the odds laying out that Lovett and Verse will be with us next season? They're improving, right? In terms of them returning.
Every day that goes by, I guess, is a day that they haven't declared for the draft. I'm not going to put odds on it, but I would say I would not be surprised if Verse came back. I would be surprised if Fabian came back, but I would not be stunned by either dude coming back or either dude leaving. There you go. There's the all-time couch, everybody. Nice. Is that what you're wanting when you asked that question? I bet it was. I'm going to say 51-49.
Yeah, I mean, you're seeing a lot of these deals going out to players through NIL, but I can't imagine they're high-dollar deals, which makes you think that maybe they're saving something up for Jared to make it quite lucrative and attractive for him to return. But I'm like the opposite of you. I would be more surprised if Jared returns than Fabian at this point, because the more people talk about it, makes sense to me. Is that, coming into the season, he was like maybe projected as like a 5th round guy.
Who?
Fabian Lovett.
Maybe. Yeah, man.
Round?
I don't know. Yeah.
What has he really done to? And I
right.
get it, man. He's got a family himself that he started. He kind of returned last year and maybe thought he would leave afterwards. He's accepted the Senior Bowl invite. He has dealt with injury this year, and you don't want to face another one, but maybe you think that I just simply haven't done enough to get what I think I'm worth. And then enter a collective that gives you somewhere close to what the NFL advisory board says your draft rights are. Then why wouldn't you come back and live this life?
Yeah, I think 6th round picks get in the neighborhood of $200,000, something like that. 220, something like that is like a signing bonus, maybe even less than that. So if he's a 6th round pick, that's what he's looking at. But you also, when you're playing football in college, you get everything paid for. Yeah. So he could be making money while not spending any money, because lodging and food are all paid for. So that's a nice perk to have, and that's something that a fringe NFL prospect really has to think about. When it comes to Verse, he's still just a sophomore. So maybe it's not like this is his last year to cash in before he's a senior. He still just played 1 year of major college football. He didn't even play that many plays. So he might think, okay, right now they tell me I'm a 2nd round pick. Next year, if I'm healthy, I'm a top 10 pick. And the difference between a 2nd round pick and a top 10 pick is the difference of like 12 to 14 to $16 million. That's not, if he goes in the 2nd round, he's still set, but not like he's set if he's making, Lane Kiffin money. It's like Lane Kiffin versus Norvell money. So I think that, and plus if you get paid to play, you're not getting 2nd round pick guaranteed money to be on a collective, but you are getting paid to play football, and you can up your stock where you can really cash in the next year. That all goes into the thinking, I think, when you're somebody of Verse's caliber. I could see it going either way, really, honestly. And if he comes back, hoo boy, that would be nice.
Todd McShay released his first mock draft earlier this week, and he's got Jared Verse going in the 1st round. So 30th, but 1st round.
That's what I'm saying. That's number one, that's a mock draft in early December. So those don't mean much if you go back and look at them. But yeah, he's getting talk of being one of those guys, a fringe 1st rounder.
December matters. Preseason one doesn't. The one that's Tavares McFadden going 1st round, I get that. But December, there's a lot of tape being watched.
The one post-combines are what matters. Those are the ones that they dial in. If you go back and look at, and I've done this, I actually was going to write a story on it, and I forgot to do it. It was actually a good idea. I went back and looked at like the November mock drafts from last year, and then how many of them ended up being right. And like there were 3 or 4 of them where there were literally 10 or 11 guys in that mock draft that didn't get drafted in the 1st round. Like the top 10, yeah, you're not going to miss on those guys too often. But the guys that are 30th in those drafts or 28th, now they could move up to 9 or they could be a third-round pick. That's this. The top 10s are easy. It's after that it kind of is. It's not a crapshoot, but you just don't really know until they get really scouted, and they get to the combine and they run their sprints and they lift their weights. So yes, Jared Verse will be drafted in the first 2 rounds, right? We both agree with that.
Yes.
It's just a matter of, does he want to? Is that good enough for him, or does he want to come back, run it back, and maybe become a top 10 pick while getting paid to play football at Florida State?
Mark Naples. Sorry, man.
Mark in the house.
We're just going to get well, actually, no, we go. What receiver or tight end do you think will have the most receiving yards in 23?
Johnny Wilson.
Yeah, fair. Agreed. If you have any spare time in Orlando, what's going to be your bowl activity for fun? Top golf, miniature golf, axe throwing, escape rooms, bungee jumping, cocktails around the world at Epcot. After hearing Corey talk about the construction workers having lunch on the skyscraper, I'm guessing bungee jumping is off the table. Certainly
Correct,
is for
Mark.
me. Go Noles, crush Oklahoma. Hope to see you in Orlando. We'll be there, Mark. All right. Yeah, we'll see you.
I know they have a Top Golf event for the media one of those nights that I might go to, but I was talking with some buddies, Aslan, and apparently Tiger Woods has this like mega putt-putt course in Orlando. But it doesn't look like a putt-putt course. It looks like a par 3, but you just putt. So I was thinking maybe we could do that. That looked fun.
Okay. Yeah, but we're going to be there for several nights and days. We can
just throwing it out there, buddy. Just throwing it out there.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate the question. Which, by the way, it's not official, but we're thinking probably Wednesday, the day before the game, Harry Buffalo, Church Street, Orlando. You will see us there.
Right.
So put it in your notebooks. All right.
Also, maybe the Hard Rock Cafe or Planet Hollywood, one of those cool places, right?
Yeah. All right, this one's getting bundled. NYC, Noel, wake up, gents. It's Paul Gleason flashing the horns.
Right.
2 months, Bender, or 2 weeks?
2 months, Bender.
2 months.
2 months.
Non-game week, but there's practice, everybody. Let's go. 2 things. First, Aslan, take your Gene Deckerhoff impression. Is one of the best we've heard. Stop keeping it under wraps. You better read this. Okay, I just did. Thank you. In this era of transfer portal, what's the ultimate goal? Gosh, we could go forever on this one, but Corey, try to dial this one because
Okay, I will. I'll
that's
keep
not.
it
It's
short.
not this thing. You say your part, I say my piece, and then you come back and you poke holes in my piece. Where I just let
I know.
you say
I won't
your
do
piece.
that. I won't do that this time.
What's the ultimate goal in the transfer portal era, guys? A year where you consistently bring in 8 to 10 transfers, or is the goal to be in a place where you bring in 1 or less? And think about that as I also talk about Law Knoll 904. Considering how explosive our offensive line has been with a patchwork, mediocre line, I can only imagine the potential with an offensive line of 4- and 5-star guys. That said, is that the one position group that cannot be fixed by the portal? Will you not have a truly dominant offensive line until guys that you actually recruited like Julian Armella have had years to develop and grow?
I mean, that's a tough one to answer. I think
that's the one I do agree with. I think I'm more pro portal than you are. Not that you're anti portal, but I think you can build a winner in the portal. We're seeing it right now. Championship, maybe. Like conference, ACC, yes. But I could see like the offensive line being that segment that you need to get them young and nurture them and grow them and then release them out there to have what you had like in 2013. Defensive line, you can maybe plug a guy or 2 in that's physically ready to go. Maybe offensive line to be elite. But man, this offense is elite right now with 3 transfer guys possibly. So I'm cool with that.
I was going to say, you probably can't get a dominant offensive line that way. You have to grow from within and get some NFL dudes, which would help. And not many NFL linemen are transferring before their final year. It just doesn't happen. They usually stay at Georgia or Ohio State or Michigan. But this offensive line was plenty good enough to win a championship. You know, you have one of the 5 best offenses in the country. So they did not win a championship, but I don't think you would say, oh, they lost to Wake Forest because of the offensive line.
They did.
Now you could say maybe NC State, but
yes.
I just thought that second half they weren't coached all that well for a good stretch of it. And the quarterback had his worst performance. But they were good enough to win a championship, or at least get into the playoff this year. I don't think I just think that was a good offense. You can't run for 200 yards every game and not have a good offensive line. But to answer the overarching question, yes, I agree with you and Aslan that offensive line is one that probably needs to be grown from within for the most part to be dominant, to have like 4 NFL guys like you did in 13. But I think you can win a championship the way Florida State's doing it.
I don't think we'll ever be at a place that they only take one guy.
I think the sweet spot is between one guy and 10 guys, right? You literally, you sprinkle in 4 impact dudes. That's the sweet spot. You're developing your 4 and 5-star guys that you've recruited and you've evaluated and you've developed and know the system. And then you also sprinkle in 3 or 4 game changers across your roster. That's how to do it. That's how you get Capone.
Okay. All right. My truth, wake up. After 3 straight losses, what clicked?
Well, they played worse teams.
Yeah. Trey Benson, maybe a little bit. Jordan Travis. Something happened in Raleigh where he could have maybe curled up and become a broken man. But something happened after that something clicked there for sure. I know it didn't come out in the after the first drive of the Clemson game. It came in the fourth quarter when the game was kind of decided. But, that NC State game, which sucked to lose, could have really impacted this team in a very negative way.
Yeah.
The rest of the year, and it didn't. So something happened that night, that feeling, I think, that helped at least for that quarterback, and that is the linchpin of everything else.
Did they play Clemson right after NC State, or was the week off after Clemson?
Yes.
Or between? Yeah, right. Yeah. So
week off.
Yeah, that was
Clemson
that was a tough matchup after the heartache of Raleigh. But yeah, I think number one, I think they carried over the fourth quarter against Clemson into the rest of those games, and I think that they played some offenses that were horribly quarterbacked. And when you have an offense clicking like Florida State's offense is clicking, and you're playing bad offenses, you're going to get up 17, 21 points. That bad offense is really going to start pressing, and that's how you beat them by 40. And I just think that's what happened. It would have been really cool if your 3 toughest games weren't right 1, 2, 3 after each other. If you could have sprinkled them throughout the schedule, it would have been really interesting to see how the season would have played out.
3 more. Wow.
Okay, let's do it.
Wow, 427. I've been thinking about the future. Now I'm thrilled about portals existing and coming in. I'm also thrilled about these returnees we have. But is this a double-edged spear? It seems like we will have a massive exodus after 23. Then factoring in a relatively light freshman class this year, are we going to have a bit of a problem for 24? How about this, Corey? This whole new rule with the NCAA where there's no longer signing limits, where you have an 85 scholarship limit. You can bring in 40, you can bring in 4.
But that's not a new rule. That's just a rule for this year and last year, I think, or this year and next year. It's not a forever rule.
Okay.
It's because of the COVID. It's not a forever rule, and they're going to legislate this. They can't have teams just dumping players 50 at a time. That's not what's going to happen. But
any fear that we might be peaking too early, Corey? We might be peaking for 23 when the playoff is in 24. I guess.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. It will if Florida State becomes what we all want it to become. You are going to lose some players that you had really high hopes for. You're going to have more of the Sam McCalls, like guys that really were a part of their future plans that for whatever reason was upset, didn't play a lot, and left. That's going to start happening to you, I think, a little bit more. It's not going to always be great in the portal, but that's just I don't know. I guess that's something to worry about. But let's cross that bridge when we get there. Let's just enjoy the fruits of the portal for now, and let's see how it plays out. I don't know that you have a bunch of dudes even now, young guys. We'll see who's like alluring. That's a weird word to use, but appealing to other schools after next year. Like you know some of the names, but they're going to be going pro. So who's going to be appealing to what guys now on the current roster are going to be appealing? That's something we just have no idea of knowing right now. We think we could. We have ideas. We have guesses, but we don't know. We don't know who in this group right now will Alabama want, or some other school will want. Ohio State. There aren't many schools that can handpick players that Florida State wants. Like when Florida State wants a player, Florida State, I think, is probably going to keep the vast majority of them because it is, after all, Florida State.
You have pretty smart head coach, and you have the investment in personnel people. So I think they'll always be able to juggle the numbers right. There's never going to be like this, mass exodus. They'll figure it out. I hate to simplify it that way, but there's certain things in this life where you don't know how the sausage is being made. You just trust the people that are doing it. So when it comes to balancing the numbers, I'll go there. Seminole Carol, which, by the way, her birthday is on Christmas, and her name is Carol.
Oh, how about that? A Christmas Carol for all of us.
All right, Corey addressed many times having to score 30 to 35 points on offense to win this year. So what's the projection for next year? 40? They scored 36 on average this past season, by the way, she adds. Happy holidays. Enjoy your family and friends. As always, go Seminoles. Man,
I mean, I would think 40, right?
That's such
40?
a large number, man. They're 17th in the nation with 36.2. I mean, Tennessee averaged 47. They were the number one scoring offense in the country. Number 2 is Ohio State at 44. There's 8 teams that average 40 or more.
Don't you think Florida State could be hovering there? Health, with good health?
Yeah, I mean, you have Southern Miss, Northern Alabama, Duke, Pitt, Virginia Tech's pretty meh. I mean, that schedule could set you up for, I guess, 40. It just sounds crazy. Could you imagine 15 years ago talking about a team that's going to average 40 points per game?
Well, yeah. I mean, Florida State used to do it all the time in the 90s. And in 2013, I think they averaged 50. They scored 94 touchdowns in 2013. That's insanity. But, yeah, I mean, I think 40 is doable. I think the one thing, though, is that most of those teams that score a huge number of points go super fast. Norvell is not slow. He's not Jimbo, but he's not Josh Heupel either. He's not supersonic. And I've said this. I would be okay if they sped up a little bit next year because you have all these offensive weapons and you're going to want to have more. I think you're going to be the better team in every game you play almost. So you're going to want to have more possessions because that means more chances for. That's why North Carolina basketball is the way it is. They play. That's what Roy Williams wanted. We have better players, so we're going to go up and down the floor. And yeah, you're going to get some points, but the more possessions this game goes, the better chance we have of winning because we're better than you. So that just stands to reason. And I think Florida State could maybe get, if he could just milk one extra possession a half, because there were halves this year, man, where they had 4 possessions. Well, that needs to be that always needs to be 5 or 6 because if you have 6 possessions and a half, you're probably going to score in 4 of them. And, yeah, that's how you get to 40 points. So I do think it's doable, man. I do. I think they're I don't think they're going to have another game next year where they only score 17 and they don't score in the second half of a game. I think 40 could be about the average.
Missed this one. The second part of Bowden-Law's question about which transfer would you rather have, Fentrell Cypress, the defensive back from Virginia, or Braden Fisk, interior defensive lineman, Western Michigan?
Hey, I guess the corner. If he's as good as they say he is, like an NFL corner, man, those don't grow on trees. Where do they grow? They grow in homes. You know what I mean? They grow. They start in a crib. They go to elementary school. It's what a dumb thing for me to say, but I think imagine that defense with like a lockdown corner. What we thought Amarian Cooper was going to be. Duke, prove us wrong, man. You got 2 years left. Prove us wrong. Turn into the guy we want you to be. But I think that would be a corner of that caliber would be really, really big.
All right, last one, Flavanol. What are your top 2 or 3 bowl games that FSU has played in that have not been for the national title? 87 Fiesta Bowl, 97 Sugar, 16 Orange, sentimental favorite, honorable mention, 2006 Emerald.
Because it was Jeff Bowden's last game? I would say the 87 Fiesta Bowl was a great one. That was a really cool win. Picking up that 4th and 14 or whatever it was there at the end to beat Nebraska. That's a good one, man.
Was the Sugar, don't you like the Sugar one with Dion?
Dion intercepting the pass in the end zone. But that was a frustrating one because Florida State should have won by 3 touchdowns and kept screwing up. But, yes, that was a cool way for Dion to end his career. I mean, they were all kind of good in the 90s, right? I would say, yeah, and also I loved the Northern Illinois game.
Okay. All right.
I didn't like their fans. Didn't like their coach. Didn't like their quarterback saying that Florida State was going to be the plan was for them to be on their knees in the fourth quarter. Ridiculousness. So that was fun to see Northern Illinois and Jordan Lynch just get exposed by our very good defense. So, but they're all good answers. They're all good answers, Aslan. What's yours?
What was the one, the Russell Athletic Bowl where we beat Wisconsin just because Graham Gano?
Graham Gano was
those
MVP.
punts
That's
were
right.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I love that game. It's beautiful. And then the ones that we talked about there. No one ever talks about the 2001 Gator Bowl, No one ever talks about that one.
Well, what about, wouldn't it be, honestly, the 2009 Gator Bowl?
Yeah, Bowden's last game. Yeah, that's the right answer.
And to win the way they won, to beat a better team than them, and he get to go out on top, that might be that's got to be sentimentally number one.
And we were down, too, weren't we?
Yeah, it was like 14-0, and West Virginia was running for 9 yards a carry. Noel Devine was going to run for 400 yards, and then they just decided to start throwing every down.
Yeah. Thanks, Bill Stewart. Appreciate that.
Yeah, man, that was nice of them.
All right, that's a wrap for us. Probably a wrap for the week unless there's some sort of emergency stuff that we need to come and do a show for you, which we will, obviously. We don't have a problem doing that.
That's what we do.
In the meantime, stay connected to warchant.com. There'll be a live recruiting chat tonight at 6 p.m. with Michael Langston and myself, so get connected. Dial into that one. Jeff Cameron Show, 1 to 3 o'clock. Everything else over at warchant.com. Thumbs up, 5-star rating and review, please. For Corey, I'm Aslan. Thank you for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.